Hello, everyone, and welcome to our District Administration EdTalk here today, which is entitled How to Unlock the Full Potential of Chromebooks for CTE and STEM. And all of this is brought to you by the generous support of our sponsor with us here today, EdTopia. So there are a few things that we have set in our agenda today. First, our presenters are going to talk about how K-12 schools and districts can recognize and maximize the long-term potential of Chromebooks, and how you can address and solve some of the various challenges in Chromebook management, like common device expiration. We'll also be discussing what important role that Chrome browsers have in the classroom, and we're excited that you'll also get to hear from Chester Upland School District directly about its CTE engineering class. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers that we have with us today. We have Alan Smith, who's a STEM CTE teacher of engineering at Chester Upland School District in Pennsylvania. And we have Ian Bray, who is chief architect and head of engineering at EdTopia. Well, Alan, Ian, it's great to have you with us here today. You may now begin.
Very much. Thank you. So this presentation is going to be covering, as we start talking about how Chromebooks and interfacing with CTE, and so Alan is introducing us into how and when we are deploying, how our solution is helping adopt Chromebooks within education. But if we step back for a second, we're going to actually talk about why we're using Chromebooks to solve these problems and what equity and value they provide to your schools. So we'll just go through the slides here. So if we go start with the state of the problem, this is a problem that actually applies outside of education. This is applying across every single vertical we're seeing going on. Unfortunately, you as educators are right at the front line of it all. As we're seeing in the world, as you look around, technological capabilities are accelerating across all industries. And educators have to prepare students not just for the workplace of 2023, but the workplace that will be in 2027, in 2037. Cloud has, for the last 10 years, kind of disrupted how we used to do education with, fixed PCs to teach children how to use particular applications, whether that's just productivity applications or whether that's high-end applications. Unfortunately, with the addition of AI to it, it's making actually getting your hands on physical hardware that's capable of running these amazing applications locally very, very expensive if you can get your hands on them at all. So, and the biggest problem we have in terms of, all right, let's stop trying to do that and just give people dumb terminals, is that these very complicated applications, we'll call them native applications, are the hardest thing to try and deliver via the web. So we at EdTopia believe that native applications should be the same as web applications. You should be treating AutoCAD the same way as you treat Figma. They should be accessible and manageable in the same way, and that includes equality of access so that every student, regardless of their background, has access to learn to use these tools. And that will go into the business as well, that every employee should have the same capabilities. One of the key factors to consider when you're coming into that is looking at the costs. Yes, there is a capital cost involved in buying Chromebooks, and yes, there is an operational cost to it, but the actual total cost of ownership is far lower when you're trying to do this at scale than it is trying to buy or manage or maintain a small infrastructure to deliver these very, very niche but very, very important applications. So Chromes and Chromebooks provide the best avenue to bridge these two worlds. It's more secure, and it's more cost effective in the medium term. But from an education point of view as well, it also means you're going to get much better delivery of the fidelity of experience and ensuring the consistency of training. And it should enable your students and yourselves to be better postured for what's coming over the next 5 to 10 years. And I'll pass over now. So we got automatic updates every 4 weeks. So as part of the changes that are occurring within Chrome, we are seeing automatic updates being changed. So right now, there has been a concern about how long Chromebooks will be supported in education starting next year. Chromebooks from 2021 onwards will receive 10-year updates. So it means that rather than you buying something that's going to be e-waste within 4 years, it can have a nice decade-long lifespan, which should mean that it serves the purposes for the education institutions, and the same is true for enterprises as well. So as they go out into the world of business, same laptops will be used, there'll be Chromebooks. It's also enabling much higher security, which means there's less shenanigans going on, less concerns for you to manage. And it should make it a lot easier to repair and maintain as we're going forward with them. I'll hand right now over to Claire.
Sure. How's everybody today? And thank you, Ian. I'm Alan Smith, the STEM engineering teacher at the Chester Upland School District. And we come to you today with our engineering 2 and 3 students in the background watching this historic webinar. So thank you for having us today. And also we have our director of CTE, and that is Dr. Angela Thompson, I believe. And I just want to thank them for attending too. And again, pursuant to what you've already said, Ian, we have experienced, we're a real day example and model that Chromebooks do fit the equity gap that you might expect would be required to teach the kind of applications that we're teaching here at Chester STEM Academy. We are an urban school district about 20 minutes away from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we've been teaching engineering here for quite some time. But we did have a resource gap that prevented us to teach higher order modeling programs. We were only teaching AutoCAD probably about 2019, I would believe, and on old laptops that, the graphics were very bad, that they would pixelate. And but we, our students here in Chester are, a special brand of youth that they believe you. And that's another reason that, we want to put our best foot forward, is that our youth are very open to learning new things, even if they don't work right. So one of the stories I like to tell is that I had students that were so focused on those old laptops in AutoCAD 2019 that when they would pixelate and freeze, they would be willing to go through whatever process I gave them to reboot and start over again. So just think about how far we've come from those days to now, where right in my classroom, I have one of my seniors is working on a real day prototyping project in Inventor, designing a lug for a drum. And we'll be able to prototype it in on the 3D printer, obviously to be eventually created in steel. So we are a one-room lab. We do not have a large prototyping shop with steel and milling machines and these kinds of things. And so we have to use as many virtual tools as possible to get the real world tools in. And so Itopia, for so many reasons, gives us the ability to bring complete real CAD learning. We do not, no disrespect to the high school level, typical CAD programs, they are learning the Autodesk suite, specifically Inventor and Revit. And so we tried, again, these other methods just weren't working. I did a presentation for Google in New Orleans last year for the ISTE conference, and demonstrated the power of Itopia with this Chromebook, which is a $110 Best Buy Chromebook, and no lag, no latency, doing solid models. I copied them over and over again, and we couldn't get Itopia to choke. And that is major. I go back to AutoCAD 13, the first Windows version of AutoCAD, and worked in AutoCAD 10 and 11. And even when you worked in the professional world, when we were just doing line drawings, AutoCAD typically was known for latency and these kinds of things. And so, when that happened, I was just floored and wanted to move forward with continuing to implement these things. And so we need these experiences for students because the ultimate goal is to prepare them for jobs. And that is coming soon with this group that we have now. All of our students have experienced Inventor all the way up to at least assemblies. And we are working on teaching 3D print in place technologies, which is cutting edge. You can go out to YouTube and you won't find a lot of information there. I see a question. It says, what model Chromebook are you using with AutoCAD, Revit, and Inventor? And that's a great question. We are a district that has because of different years of acquisitions, many different kinds of Chromebooks. And they all operate a little bit differently. But one thing is, once we are in the Itopia environment, their engineering, and I don't know what kind of hyper threading they're doing there in their technology, but we get that same smooth result. And so again, we are looking to the day that our students accomplish the vocational goals of CTE. Our CTE director, Dr. Angela Thompson, that is our end goal and our end game, and we look forward to Itopia being a part of that story. We did have an initial trial period. The test Itopia was about 2 years, and we did install AutoCAD, Revit, and Inventor Pro, and we're now teaching those real day concepts, very little latency, and all of this is possible. And so, we're very excited to be here, and we'd be glad to answer any questions.
A few moments to see. You can see there's a QR code right there on your screen there. So our friends at Itopia, they have opened up the opportunity to activate a free test drive to stream 150 plus apps in a browser. Sure. So, awesome. So yeah, some questions have been coming in. So what do you use for slicing when printing to your 3D printer?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, the key here is that we are a receiver school district that receives a large portion of our funds by the title funding from the federal government. So I don't always have the ability to add things right away. And so we do use a lot of open source tools out there. Right now, we use AstroPrint, which is an online free slicing program. And that enables us to experience an entire list of different 3D printers. We have 3 types of 3D printers right now. We have a MakerBot Z18, and then we have 2 Ender 3s and 2 Anycubic Cobra Go's. And so that enables a group of about 12 students to have access to the printers, as well as a wide variety of slicing options. So that's what we're doing right now. We do use Cura when we're not able to find a certain printer, because the Cura list of printers tend to be the most update. And, when you're talking about 3D printing, there are a variety of reasons why a print doesn't work well, and not using a proper slicer is one of them. So we will do that, but oftentimes that's on a local PC. So what we like to do, though, is keep as much of our process streamlined on the Chromebook. So currently, our students can design using various tools. They still learn prototyping, using vernier calipers and these kinds of things, or even scanning drawings in as backgrounds. And they're able to go from design to print. They're able to assess, reevaluate, and make improvements. And that's what we want them to have. we do have Project Lead the Way, but what we really would like to do more than that is continue to mimic more of a prototyping lab. When it comes to Revit, our goal is to teach students to be able to navigate and understand the BIM, the Building Information Model, which is the global standard, and to be able to understand how to create the various types of models and various sheets of drawings for a building. Learning MEP and all these things, which are real day developer and construction projects. This is one of those things that because of Itopia purely we're able to do. We would not be able to do that on just a standard laptop as such as we've had in the past. So very exciting.
Well, while we're trying to get that connected, we do have one question
Sure.
that's a pretty good one I'll throw your way. So it's kind of a two-parter. So I'll start with the first. What programs were you using before Itopia?
So we always did use AutoCAD, but that's a great question. You know, it's been a SolidWorks inventor world for at least 10, 15 years. And to only be able to teach AutoCAD, all I could do is take my students to videos and show them modeling programs, parametric driven modeling programs, and how, you know, those programs require that you develop models by a 2D profile that's extruded or swept or driven along an axis or this kinds of thing. I could only demonstrate that by showing it in videos. And so the other thing I was doing was just simply teaching them AutoCAD, was just line drawings, and we'd get into some AutoCAD modeling, but I would then take the time to slow up and explain that the parameter-driven modeling programs are not quite the same. And then we certainly would not be modeling houses in AutoCAD with 3D. So there was some limitation, to say the least.
The next part of the question, so in regards to, you know, what you were using before, but what exactly does Itopia allow you to do now that you weren't able to do before Itopia?
So we have access to the entire Autodesk suite. The teacher just simply has to sign up with Autodesk as an education educator, and then you are able to, just by email, load a list of your students in as users of your Autodesk education license. And that includes the entire suite of Autodesk products. So the sky is the limit on a Chromebook. And I know this is unbelievable, but we're now in our third year of this. And I just don't see how it won't become the standard, because once, you know, networks begin to catch up and wireless systems have greater pipes, and Itopia continues to do that outstanding job they do with, I still don't see how they do that, is to get that Windows screen. And that's what's really on your Chromebook, is a Windows screen with your application. So when you're working in your Itopia environment, it's mimicking a Windows PC. Thanks to Itopia, you have access to your Google Drive just like you normally would. But again, it gives us the ability to teach the breadth of applications and actually do real world work. I love Project Lead the Way, but quite frankly, it gives students examples and experiences of how things are done in engineering. But by using Itopia, you simply can with some tools, we have wide format printers, we can work alongside of architects and engineers. I look forward to them. For example, we have a new wide format scanner coming in. So I'd like to teach students to be that CAD setup guy in an AEC firm that receives some old drawings, scans them in, and sets up the base drawings and these kinds of things. So there's there's high school CAD learning, but then there's also the ability to expose high school students, CTE students, to real world applications. We would not be able to do that without this relationship we have with Itopia.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. So there are a few questions that we still have left, but we're almost at the 30-minute mark. So I think we'll have time for one more. I know Darren just asked a question about printing, but we're getting to that. We're writing that to you via text, Darren. So wait for that answer as well. But the question I am going to ask you, Alan, is, are you teaching PLTW?
That's Project Lead the Way. Yes. I would say I did more Project Lead the Way before I had access to just the full-blown suite of Autodesk projects. Now I teach pretty much the engineering concepts that an engineer might use when they're doing designing. I do turn it upside down though. To the point of Project Lead the Way, you have to make things exciting for young people. So for an example, we're learning how to do print and place 3D assemblies. But at the core of that, I'm going to be teaching tolerancing. The boring way is to open up the textbook and teach tolerancing first. And then like, what is this for? Well, I have a set of models that on my desk right now that do not work because the tolerancing was too tight or the 3D printer did not print it appropriately. And so they get a chance to experience it first, hands-on, and then we kind of reverse, we call it reverse engineering. They don't know that. And drop the concepts in. So for an example, I get them associated with dealing with tolerancing and 5 or 10 or 2,500 or 25 thousandths of an inch, and they can get a good feel as to what a coarse, medium, or fine fit of a thread might be after they've already experienced a couple failed models. Mr. Smith, why doesn't this thing work? So it's more like a group of young people. The Itopia, it enables this old engineer to kind of really bring the shop to them. And, we do use Project Lead the Way textbooks, and then we end up being a little bit more of a reference than actually going project by project.
Perfect. Thank you. And so we are at that 30-minute mark, but I will just quickly answer. We did get to you in writing, Darren, but they were asking, how do you connect your local printers into Itopia? And basically, Cloud Apps offers local printer redirection. And it allows you to print from your remote Cloud Apps sessions to network printers set up on the device you are using to access your Cloud Apps classroom sessions. So again, so that is all the time we have for Q&A, but if we didn't get to your questions, we at DA will be sharing them with our partners at Itopia so they can get back to your questions individually after today's event. And actually, as I go through my closing slides in just a few moments, please feel free to continue submitting your questions if any do come to mind, and I'll make sure, they're sent over so they could be answered at some point in the future. And again, make sure to stay on until the very end to participate in our post-event survey. But first off, thank you again to Alan and Ian for sharing your expertise and time with us today. We really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Itopia as well.